Ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Brandon with Rags to Riches. Saturday night, and the feeling's all right. Let me get some stuff out of my pockets here. See what chat's all about. We got a nice little show for you guys tonight, I think. I think we do. We're gonna see what comes of it here. Comments, chat, yeah. Balliot Brand, what's up? Saturday Night Live. That's right. CryptoKoolaid. What's up, CryptoKoolaid? Yeah, so we're gonna have a couple guests tonight. We're gonna have 2 or 3 guests, and one of the big things that I need to do is kind of talk to you about vision and what my vision is of what the next couple years is going to look like, at least for this channel and potentially for this chain in general. CryptoKoolaid, what's up, CryptoKoolaid? Woo! Yep. Godfather, what's up, man? How you doing, buddy? How you doing? Do our introductions here. Damn it, Brand, First Blood. I told you, man. He works those poor virtual assistants all hours of the day and night. Whipping them in shape there. Marcus99, what's up, all? Unsubscribe. Please do not like, do not comment, and please do not subscribe. Yes. Yeah, the Twitter Spaces is legit. Great video with Megan and Crypto Stylist. Yeah, Crypto Stylist and Megan. They are very, very smart, intelligent gals, and I'm just going to tell everybody, watch out. They're going to take you over here. They're going to take over Twitter. They're going to take over YouTube. They're going to take all y'all dumbasses over, including me. What's up, Roy Slade? What's up, Rags? Yeah, early. Well, we got Hex and Chill Girl, West Coast in the house. Yeah, always like that smile there. Always like it. Old Balliot. Cot G, you dirty son of a gun. I think I'm just going to start cussing, man, because that's who I am in life, man. I'm going to cuss. If Twitter just bans me, if YouTube bans me, it is what it is. I don't care. Yeah. I'm going to talk to these guys in the chat here real quick. All right. I'll bring you on shortly. In about 15, second 8, 5. All right. What else we got here? Who's in here? Boom. What's up, man? What's up? I know you. Crypto Heartbeat. No cussing, Rags. He's the cricket on my left shoulder, or is it right shoulder? I don't know. Don't listen to Dad. I hear you. Guys, do me a favor. Grab this link and share it with your social networks, because we're going to talk about some things that I think are important. And I want to lead off tonight with a tweet that I put out today. And let me pull the exact tweet up, because I want to be as accurate as possible. And here's what the tweet said. It said, if you want to get through to people, you have to meet them where they are, right? You got to meet people where they are, not where you are, or not where you want to be. That's very important. So we're going to have the incredible opportunity to have onboarded tons and tons of people within the first 6 months of PulseChain. And a lot of those folks, they're going to be looking at us and they're going to say, well, we have all these weird preconceived notions about what a Richard Hart project is and what hexkins are and what the PulseChain is and how this and how that. Let's table all of that and let's figure out how to connect with these folks. We've got the narrative that they need to hear. They just don't need to hear it yet. But we have to create a relationship. We've got to build that trust. We got to build that bridge. And the past 2 or 3 streams, if you watched, we've been talking about NFTs and how they are playing a big role in the world at large, no matter how dumb they may come across or seem to some people. in my mind, there is no doubt that they are a very important part of what's driving at least some sort of the crypto narrative right now. And let's say everything does crash and burn and everybody's stuck at the top and they can't sell their JPEGs. Well, isn't that what happens with all markets? It crashes, it burns, everybody goes away, but then the smart people stick around and accumulate, right? It's the name of the game. But the other part of this is the huge part of this actually is the vision for what NFTs will do for the future. And by NFTs, I don't necessarily mean these, these apes or whatever the case may be. There's so many different iterations. There's so many different, it's a very complex space. So I'm going to bring on people that are doing it. I'm going to bring on people that are talking about it. And I am 100% unapologetic about it. 100% unapologetic. All right. I'm no cussing or cuss as much as you want. So there's no like in between. Is that what you're telling me, Kat G? All right. So I want to bring in my first guest here. And I was in a Twitter space last night and I'm talking and this guy seems to have found a way to be able to connect with people that really don't know crypto at large. A lot of younger folks, a lot of people that are sucked up into the NFT hype, and he's got some good ideas and he's got some good stories, and we're going to talk about a couple things, and I just want you guys to listen to that. And after that guest, we're going to bring somebody in to kind of reinforce those ideas and then kind of give us a vision for what it could be in the future. And then maybe if some of you guys are lucky, we'll get another guest or two. We'll just see what happens here. So first, I would like to introduce my man from SteakinApes. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you doing, man?
Good, man. Introduce yourself to everybody, man. Let them know who you are.
Hey, everybody. I'm SteakinApes. That's what my Twitter handle is and everything. So I started this whole NFT game probably about 3 months ago. I was just trying to see how I could be to service of the community. I'm usually sitting on the sidelines, just throwing everybody the likes and stuff like that. I got into HEX about a year ago, and I just kind of stood on the sidelines and watched everything happen, and watched some people build stuff, like seen Motley build VLC. There's a lot of Hexkins out there doing a lot of great things, and they've made a life-changing wealth over it. So I was like, how can I contribute? So it was like 3 a.m. I was scrolling through TikTok, and then this one comes up about having an online store, and I was like, oh, that looks easy. You just do that, you do that. And then I was like, all right. So, signed up for Shopify, did all that, did the merch and everything. And then I realized that if your social media accounts have no followers, you're just putting out content for no reason. So I was like, all right, how can I get some followers? So I started just giving away NFTs for free. And, Hex King community, not really a big NFT kind of guys, but I saw a different side of them than what everybody else saw. I was like, you can link your website, your social media accounts, and it's essentially your own online website to these NFTs. So whenever somebody gets one of these new NFTs, what are they going to do? They're going to check it out. They're going to go to all the links. So I've pretty much tripled my online stores, like people visiting it, ever since I started doing it. Before I could barely even give them out. Now I literally can't keep them long enough because everybody wants to take them. So whenever the PulseX sacrifice started, I did PulseX apes. I don't know if you saw them. And then I put Richard Hart's, message, freedom of speech and stuff, the political statement in there, because everybody loves getting behind a bit, a good old political statement. So I figured there would be a lot of hype behind that. And then I just DM'd it, like everybody that I sent one to, I DM'd them saying, hey, go check out PulseX Sacrifice. Here's all the information you know, primary DEX on PulseChain. And a lot of these people are like, what's a DEX? And I was like.
So who you were saying these to who? Just people in the spaces, et cetera, or what?
People in the spaces, random people that like are just looking for, because have you seen like those NFT giveaways on Twitter?
No, so that's the awesome thing. You're speaking to somebody that really does not know much about it at all.
Man, so whenever I first got on and like started looking at the NFT scene, what all these big giant accounts do is they do giveaways all the time because you have you're selling a picture, all right? Like nobody's just going to want to buy a picture, all right? They want to buy it because of the community, or you have people who want to make money off of it. So you have to do a lot of advertisement. I pretty much get people DMing me to do promos on my stuff, like every single time I post something. But I haven't paid anybody or anything like that because I figure they're probably scams or whatever. But
Yeah,
that's
dude. No,
how,
go ahead.
yeah, that's how they like the NFTs are. It's a big hype thing. They're like everybody's trying to be the next, CryptoPunks, the next Bored Ape Yacht Club. It's an echo chamber right now.
Hmm.
So they do all these giveaways, and I was like, dude, there's like 1,000 people commenting on these giveaways, dropping their address. So I started just dropping them some of my NFTs, and then I'll show my little message out to them because like half the people are like, have you ever even won one of these NFT giveaways? And I'll just see like these whole threads on them, and everybody's like, no, drop my address, like for 24 hours straight once, didn't win a single one. And I was like, all right, I'm going to just start rewarding all these people, it's free on Polygon. Like
Yeah.
it's pretty much texting somebody a picture.
Talk to me. So talk to me about your background in the Hex and Pulse community and Richard Hart at large. What did that kind of look like for you?
So I got into Hex probably about a year ago. One of my buddies who I work with, he knew Motley. Motley got him into it. Then my whole entire office got into it. And for like, so I messed up. I should have went all in like they did. But prior to it, I was trading in the stock market and stuff like that. And then I finally hit one. It was AMC. I bought it. It was going off. And then the SEC froze
Done.
just froze it. It's done. And that was the first time I finally won in the stock market. And then I just watched all my profit drain down. And I literally closed out my Robinhood account that day,
You're
pulled all the
pissed.
money. Yeah, I was done. I'm like, I can't do it, can't do it. And then 2 weeks later, they're like, oh man, Hex, this is the next big thing. And they're starting
Yeah.
to play Richard's streams and everything. And I was like, I fucking hate this guy.
Yeah. So, all right. So you've been in the space for a year. If you've been in this space for a year, between all the people that you follow, between
Mhm.
following Richard Hart and watching all of his live streams, you've essentially been re-educated about what crypto looks like at this point. Is that a fair
Yes.
assumption?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I really like that. I like talking to somebody about NFTs that is in our space and has been, I like to say, re-educated. So a lot of people just have no freaking clue how the process works. So break it down to me here from start to finish. How do you make NFTs? How do you mint NFTs? What's the cost to you to even create these, or what's this all look like?
So, I mean, there's tons of different programs you can use, like Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop. There's apps you can download, everything like that. So, essentially, it depends if you're doing one art or if you're doing generative art. So, whenever you're doing generative art, you're going to have one base model, and then he'll have like a couple different features and stuff broken down.
Okay,
And
so
then
what you're doing a one base model.
mhm,
You'll go into like Photoshop or whatever the case may be,
yep.
and you'll create your brand, your style,
Hmm.
and then you're saying that you can do just a single, a one-on-one. You can make it as unique as you want. Like, yeah, so take it from there.
Yeah. So you make it as unique as you want, and then you just literally add layers. You'll add a hat, you'll add a different t-shirt, something like that. Then you'll put it in a generator and it'll spit out 10,000 copies.
Okay,
Or,
so you put it in a generator.
mhm,
So you have your image that you've created in Microsoft, in Paint or whatever, Adobe. You get that good, and then you stick it into a generator. What is a generator? Where is a generator? Talk to me about that.
you literally just Google NFT generator, and the first one that pops up, bam. Because you start with they're all in layers. So, and all of your backgrounds have to be transparent. So you'll have the background layer, which isn't transparent. then you'll have either like your main object in there, then you'll have a hat, then you'll have, sunglasses, whatever it may be. And you pick what percentage of rarity you want certain items to be. Like, say I'll do a hex necklace.
Mm-hmm.
I want that to be, only 10% of the collection to
10% of
have
the
that.
50,000.
Yeah, exactly.
So
You have
does it actually, when you put this, you're putting one image in, and
no, you're
there's
putting multiple layers.
different layers, but then it randomizes to create different
Mhm.
variations amongst that 50,000.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that. I had no clue. All
Yeah,
right.
and the expensive ones are the ones that are unique, that got like that 10% rarity trait.
Okay, so when they're talking about rarity and scarcity, etc.,
Hmm.
the rarity is created by the generator.
Yes, and you set your parameters. I want this to have 10%, this to have 25%, stuff like that.
So I'm just going to show this. We were talking about it last night, and I said, okay, let's say that I wanted you, or you said, I'll go ahead and make like a special edition something for Rags to Riches. And I
Uh-huh.
said, sure, let's see what it looks like. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to have you talk to me about this real quick, and I'll ask you some more questions too. Let's find the window, Chrome tab, SteakinApe Rags to Riches promo. You see that okay?
Hmm.
Okay. So I guess you're Sushi Ape, is that correct?
Yeah,
This is
that's me.
OpenSea.io. So from what I understand, OpenSea.io it's kind of like a almost like a centralized exchange, and it's a way to
Yes.
upload your artwork and then connect to the blockchain and mint it to the blockchain. Is that correct?
Yes. So technically, they're not minted to the blockchain until the first sale. So right
Okay.
now, it's just stored on a decentralized server. Once it gets sold, then it will be minted onto the blockchain. The actual transaction goes through, then it gets minted on
Okay,
there.
so that's nice because it cuts down on the burden of the creators who don't have enough money to mint it right away. So you can kind of store it in escrow until somebody purchases it. At that point in time, they mint it, correct?
Yes. So whenever you're minting on OpenSea, they call it lazy minting. All right. So most people, like all the big projects and stuff like that are really hyped up, they have their own standalone minting site. So the first thing that happens in an NFT is the mint. All right. So what they're is they're going to set up some random website, call it their name or whatever it may be, and then they are going to, everybody gets to go there. Whoever on the whitelist gets the mint first. All right. That's why you'll see them saying like, oh, we got 10 whitelist spots, 11 whitelist spots, do this or something to join. And then after they do that, they get the first shot at minting. And then after that, it opens up to everybody else.
Okay. So you minted 50 of these, and
Yep.
did you put this through a generator and it created some sort of scarcity, etc.?
No, because that's just a one of one. That
Okay,
was
this
a
is a one of
special.
one.
Yes.
So this is 50 of the exact same thing, correct?
Yes. 50 of the exact same thing. So whenever you're on Polygon, you can mint in bulk. So you can mint, 1 to 10,000 with just one click of the button, because you're not technically minting it. You're just storing it on that server. Once they actually sell, that's when they'll be minted onto the blockchain.
Okay, cool. So you sent me a link to this. Is this something that you're giving to me and then I can take it and make it my own and then sell it, or is this just sold to you? Like, how does that work? This is just for you, correct?
So what I'm going to do with that one, we made 50 copies, and however you want to give them away, all I need is their address to send them out. So you pretty much, you give them away to all of your, followers and stuff like that. Whoever wants one, DM me their address and I'll send it to them. And if anybody has any issues on how to view them on OpenSea, because it's kind of difficult, you have to go to your profile page. So you go
Well,
like,
let's back up real quick. You have to create an account with
yes.
OpenSea.io.
Yes, that's the
And
first step.
OpenSea.io at this point is it the largest
Yes.
repository of NFTs online?
Yes. So
Okay.
OpenSea is essentially what Coinbase is, for NFTs.
Okay, that's good information. So you take this and you create the account OpenSea.io, and you're going to, if I remember correctly, you connect your MetaMask to OpenSea. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what you would do, somebody would create that account in OpenSea, then they would send their public address to you, their Ether
Hmm.
address,
Yes.
and then you would fire off one of these bad boys to that address. So when they logged into OpenSea after about 5 minutes, this
Hmm.
should be in there under their profile.
So, I mean, it's on Polygon, so it goes by pretty fast. It
Okay.
won't be initially under their profile. So, what they have to do is go to their profile page and then they'll scroll down. Like, here, let me look at mine real quick. Yeah, so you'll click on profile, connect your wallet, you'll scroll down a little bit, and then there'll be like 4 slides that you go over. Once you slide it over, you'll see hidden. I have a video that I send to people every single time
Okay.
if they have issues. But yep, you'll go, yeah, click on the profile.
And then you would connect your
Yeah,
MetaMask
you
or whatever the
can.
case may be.
Uh-huh. And then you scroll down, and then you'll scroll to the left, and then, well, you'll scroll to the right, and then you'll have your hidden section, and then you'll unhide it with the 3 little dots on the bottom.
Okay. But okay, so that's just pretty much like anybody can figure that out if they do a quick search for it.
Yes, yes.
Okay. One of the questions we had here, I don't know if you know this, what type of permissions are required to connect to OpenSea?
So it's read only, and then you can connect permissions for like initializing your wallet and stuff if you're going to be a minter and actually selling on there.
Okay, cool. So I guess the other question is when they send you the address to their wallet,
Hmm.
and you get that address and you're sending out one of these 50 to them, do you have to pay gas for that?
So not on Polygon. That's why I give all the free one, all the ones away for free on Polygon. There's no gas.
So
So
do they have to have a Polygon network address, or do they have to have that in MetaMask?
yeah, so all you do is add a custom RPC to Polygon on your MetaMask.
Okay, so you would add the Polygon network in your MetaMask, correct?
Yes.
And then the other option is there a way to make the people who are receiving it pay the gas if they wanted it on the Ethereum chain?
Yes.
Okay, so it can be either you like Polygon because it's really, really cheap to send, but if somebody didn't want to add the custom RPC,
Hmm.
they could just receive it in their MetaMask with their Ethereum
Yeah.
address.
So the ones that actually sell and make money and everybody sees like all these gains, they're all printed on Ethereum. Ethereum's the gold standard for NFTs, essentially.
Right, and the thing that's interesting, in CryptoKoolaid here in about 2 or 3 minutes, I'm going to bring you in, buddy. The thing that's interesting here is I think the tsunami's coming because a lot of people don't want to get caught up in RPC this, RPC that. They want to connect their MetaMask. They already have the Ethereum network in there, um, and that's nice. But PulseChain is going to come out, and PulseChain is going to be a system state copy of Ethereum. You add that network, but the fees are going to be competitive with Polygon, at least initially. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
So that's why I think it's going to be so powerful. Now, what are your thoughts on the fact that NFTs are going to be doubled on the Pulse chain?
So I don't think there will be any intrinsic value of the ones that are doubled on PulseChain. I think
Okay.
some people will buy them, some people will get them, but I don't think they'll deem the actual value unless the creator brings his followers onto that marketplace.
Yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
Because
Cool. So go ahead.
this community is all about followers. You can have the best artwork in the world, but if you don't have any followers and there's no hype behind your project and you don't have this killer roadmap where you're building the Denny's or something, yeah, nothing sells.
Awesome, man. Well, I think that's really cool, man. So what's your Twitter handle?
It's going to be at SteakinApes.
At Steak and Apes. Okay, yeah,
Mhm.
Steak. And is it the comma and apes?
No,
We'll
it should just.
we'll post it in the comments here in just a second. You can pull
All
up
right.
the stream here. Or you can tag me on Twitter with your information too. We'll let folks know. Dude, I think that's super cool, man. Super, super excited. Because I think, like I said, there's going to be a tsunami of people that are going to want some type of outlet and some type of source information about NFTs on the Pulse chain. And it's going to be a really, really good opportunity for somebody as long as the fire is still burning. And
Yes.
in my opinion, even if we do go into a deep market and bear market, and we correct 80 or 90%, if history repeats itself, that's the best time to be accumulating these types of things, in my opinion. If that's the way it goes, but I don't know the market that well, so I would like to bring in a very special guest, the man, the myth, the legend, and he is what's that famous radio guy say? He has more brains than me with half his brains tied behind his back. So, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
What's going on, fam? How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm awesome.
Good.
Man, I'll tell you, I talked to you earlier today, and I was absolutely blown away with your vision of what NFT technology is going to look like in the future.
Sure.
So, so I wanted to get both of you guys on here. SteakinApes, feel free to ask questions, et cetera, et cetera. But CryptoKoolaid, man, what does the future look like, man? What are NFTs beyond artwork? I want you to touch on that.
Let me quickly just tack to what SteakinApes was talking about. There's actually is a way, and I can't give too much alpha because I'm working with Knipples on some stuff, that you could theoretically bridge an ETH NFT and do some shenanigans like Bansky did when he burned his actual physical product and made the NFT, to do some very, very interesting things to move the power of the utility over. Now, if we look at what's going on with NFTs as a whole, we need to correlate it to the petrock.com era. If we did not have petrock.com, and that implosion wouldn't have let the foundation and the bedrock for .coms to be the global standard of interoperability on the internet.
All right, let me pause you there real quick.
Sure.
Petrock.com, give people a little bit of background story about what happened there.
Sure. So let's roll back, right? We got to kind of like roll through the onion layers of history, right? So we had this weird thing in the 90s where they mailed us these little CD trays that are the cup holders in computers, and they called it AOL, CompuServe, all the rest of that. And no one really understood what to do with this thing. They didn't understand really what's email. I'd rather use my fax machine. Well, before fax machines, we had to have carrier pigeons, the Pony Express, snail mail to get something from point A to point E. So interoperability, right? And so then we get these fax machines that can send all this data, but it's a one-hook pony, right? You can only transfer in once. You can get disconnected. Look at PC Load Letter from the Kevin Smith movie. It didn't have all of the hooks and the functions. And then when we got high-speed internet, now we have multiple throughputs, right? And then that goes even faster to cable, to fiber, to where we're going. So if we think about the world and where it was and how it grew, it has a scalability to it. And so back in the 90s, we had this thing called the dot-com bubble. Everybody made a dot-com. Everybody made all these things. And back then, there's this term of pet rock. And so there was a guy that made $1 million taking rocks, calling it a pet, and sold it. And then that was, air quote, the bubble.
Sounds like crypto to me.
It does. But look at it now on the .com bubble. Everything has to have the .com. The things that weathered that time are the standard for everything else. So let's take a step back and understanding what NFTs are. Right now, people are building molehills with rocket ships. So an NFT is just a non-fungible token, but it sits in a wallet. Let's consider a wallet an address, just like your post office box or your house. Well, let's say you rent an apartment and you have a partner. So that's two people in one room of this apartment that you rent. And each of those people is a social security number or an identity. It's a non-fungible token. Well, those people could fucking have a baby. That's another non-fungible token inside that ecosystem. And the real consideration.
So wait, so let's just say, so if we take it that way, if we look at it that way, you've got DNA from two sets of NFTs that give birth to offspring with similar characteristics of both of those. The same DNA.
Not necessarily like that, but those two can interact on contracts, right?
Okay.
They can interoperate on a DAO, an Oracle, and multiple different contracts. So I've got this NFT that says something, that I can do something, and I have access to something, like two partners sleeping in the same bed. They have access to the house, right? They turn the key, they can enter the house. They have access to the bedroom. They can go in there and they can sleep in there. So their contract between them two has a handshake. That's what the old dial-up term is for connecting with that weird little noise.
Unique NFT through interaction with the smart contract has access to XYZ or whatever that verb is.
It's the same technical function or throughput that Hedron is doing. It's the same thing that encapsulated stakes that Sam Firebun is doing. Now they're doing it all differently, but that's the process of what we're talking about. So an NFT can house and hold NFTs that can use and operate other NFTs that can execute on DAOs and contracts if these three states are met, right?
Okay.
And it's like mamushka dolls. They can compact inside of each other because they can nest inside of each other. It's nested contracts of interoperability is
Cool.
essentially what an NFT is building the pipeline for.
Outstanding. So when you talk about it that way, it seems that with the acceleration of technology right now, with the advent of augmented reality, etc., it seems like there's going to be a whole lot of parallels and a whole lot of ways to really make this thing take off. And and let me remind the crowd again, beyond just the artwork. So kind of give me a view. What does your view look like in terms of that space over the next 10 or 20 years?
Oh God. So let's go back to,
okay.
So I wrote this deck that I got to finish for Knipples. And basically I talk about Jobs' as loss. So Steve Jobs, I'm an Apple hater, but I can do correlated analysis against things. So when people think about what Steve Jobs did, he thinks he made a phone or a technology. No. So if you go back into the 90s, we had payphones, pagers, barely cell phones, libraries, and you had to use your rotary phone to figure out when the movie times were for the internet. Well, we had this thing called an iPod, and that was back in the Napster days where no one really understood what MP3s were. What do you think now is going on now? And so we had these drives that you could listen to music on. But Apple, which had crappy ass computers in high schools, didn't actually have the lickable, tangible way to access the internet through a browser and all of the rest of those things. Now, what's interesting is it still had to be Wi-Fi bound at that point because we didn't have high-speed internet that was easily obtainable. Most people were on dial-up. And once the iPhone came out, it actually gave interoperability to access the internet through a browser. It gave interoperability to walk around. I now no longer need to be at my phone or have a payphone or have a pager and all of the rest of that. And what happened after the iPhone came around? Have you seen a landline? Have you seen a payphone? Have you seen a pager? What Steve Jobs created was the first mobile social parabola. Nothing more, nothing less. And then from there, MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, Tinder, all the rest of those things are birthed of the interoperability of having a social parabola where people can be connected. Okay. And so everything else got left behind. And I call those people fax machine maximalists.
Okay.
Now, if you look at the future of NFTs, it's the same interoperability of thinking about old MP3s on old torrent days on Napster and all the rest of those things. People really don't know what to do with them. There's a hodgepodge of everything. But as we move forward into augmented reality, virtual reality, you're going to have, basically cell phone glasses that essentially do the exact same thing as the cell phone era gave to internet interoperability. So when you're walking around and you look at an ad and you look at the Lamar billboards. Be like, does billboards work?
So you've got some glasses on, apparatus, right?
Hmm?
And then you look up at this billboard, right?
Hmm?
So you see the billboard, but what else happens?
Well, then you get an impression, right? It's the same thing
They can track that.
That's right. It's the same thing we do with advertising, right? Whether it's clicks, whether it's pop-ups, whether it's anything, it's impressions. And so with impressions, if you see something, you immediately you could look at that, click on your glasses to be like interact. We use that with a QR code right now. With COVID, some restaurants don't have menus, and they say, go scan this with your phone. So if you don't have a cell phone, you almost can't even order. Now, granted, they got an analog copy in the back, but everything else is now transitioning. Just like people may not have access to the internet, they have to go to a library still. Libraries still exist, though most people don't go to a library to get their information. They Google it. Let me Google that for you. So with your glasses, you could highlight a QR code and say interact. And then from there, you could buy an apparatus. You could, what is it? Lolly something, a plugin that lets you get basically Bitcoin for doing something silly. All of these things are starting to work on the interoperability parallel or pipeline. And as it grows, it's Metcalfe's law and Moore's law. Moore's law is faster technology works. Metcalfe's law is the social dynamics of a network push the expense 4x. So as these things push farther and faster against each other, it births the same parabola that we had pre-internet to now pre-Bitcoin, pre-crypto, pre-NFT, pre-interoperability. I mean, I was just reading a couple hours ago, right after we talked, that Amazon is going to ban Visa credit card transactions due to the high fees. The dinosaurs are going to die.
They are.
And that's the thing about being blockbustered, right? All these old things are going to get absolved because they don't understand that their market model no longer works and they're being fat and happy and not adapting.
Yeah. So this was something really, really cool that we talked about. So let me pose to you a scenario here.
Sure.
You have a town somewhere in the United States. Let's just say it's Flint, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to let you take it from there because you had some cool stuff to say about that. And especially dovetailing off what you just said, it'll work together well.
Exactly. Okay. So I've been working with a bunch of different people, both huge hardcore hexagons, on building different models on how do we change the world? How do we actually help people? And I came up with this model on, let's say we take something like Flint, Michigan. Those kids are still bathing in lead. People don't care. It was a big hubbub 10 years ago. But let's just say you wanted to fix the infrastructure there. You need a good chunk of money. Well, now we're talking about what can hexagons do? Hexagon inside instead of Intel inside. So if you had to go in there and fix all of this plumbing, you have to dig up the plumbing. Well, if you're already there and money isn't an option, you would lay high-range fiber optic in the ground because you're already fixing all the piping.
You've already dug up the ground.
Might as
Why
well.
not, right?
Why not, right? If you're going to do something, you might as well do it right. So if you're already there and you're laying down the piping, you might as well dig up and give everyone high-range fiber optic internet. Why not? I mean, technically, let's roll back to the payphone and pager and all the rest of that mindset. That copper is still alive. They called that shit Ma Bell back in the day, right? Ma Bell was the thing. Government split up AT&T into multiple different shells, but those payphones still have live copper. You can't turn copper off, right? So if you're going to go through there, you might as well dig all of it up, drop high-range fiber optic. Well, if you're already there and you got to like batten down the road, you might as well throw solar panels onto the road to charge. And since it already has the high-range fiber optic, you could take all of that energy and put it on a grid. We had a crypto when I was an ICO influencer in 2017 called Power that did that. But then you're already now taking energy, you're putting it on the grid. We already charge cell phones wirelessly. Why not make it a way that you can charge your EVM car while you're driving on the road, while you're getting internet, and while you're doing all the rest of that? And again,
here, the other thing about that, let me just interrupt you.
Please.
If you've heard, everybody's heard of Metcalfe's law, just like you talked about. If you actually go and learn about John Metcalf, I believe his name is, he was really, really big into the energy sector after it was dubbed Metcalf's Law. And his big thing was, in terms of energy, decentralization of energy is going to be the most important thing that we can work and solve. It's because we're able to, A, we can store energy, and B, if a power plant goes down, the whole Northeast doesn't go down because we can pull off the reserves of everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like the idea that you're talking about using the solar panels on the roads, or actually roads that are photovoltaic. I think that's the word for it.
That is correct.
To be able to use that all the time, charge the vehicles, but also potentially the vehicles can give back that charge at the same time. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Yep.
So keep talking about, now take it that next step further.
Sure. And while we're doing that, I want to shout out Christian over at Mad Energy, Make a Difference Energy, green biotech and green energy solutions. These guys are doing amazing, amazing things, and look for them in the future. Because like you said, the old fossil fuel industry and all of that has had a stagnant hold on everything. And once we make green energy not popular, but profitable, same thing as that lickable solution that the iPhone did, it gave a social parabola. Once we give the green energy the social parabola, now we're cooking with gas and saving the planet at the same time.
I love that, man, because there's only really two options. The first option is we can mandate and force people to go carbon negative.
Mm-hmm.
But that's going to stifle innovation.
Sure.
The other thing is we can go all in on innovation, have the technology lead the way, and then nobody really suffers. So I love what you said there.
And what we do, if we take that one step further, when the people that hold all the yield want to make these decisions, it's kind of like what Knipples talks about with, we're trying to take lobbying to K Street. Once we start to pay senators in HEX and stakes, and the laws that they're debasing deflates or inflates the dollar, and they get paid or lobbied through a currency that will pay them vastly more, we can undo Citizens United. We can actually gut the old fossil fuel and the old ideals, because they're the old robber barons from the past times. And since we're now dealing with the new age of internet money, we deal with the internet of things of that lifestyle. Like I was talking to you before, a lot of people use the term, well, humans have used horses throughout our entire existence. They were the staple on if you were wealthy or not. And now we only refer to horses as horse-powered. It's what we power our machines. And if you actually hold a horse, it's a luxury commodity that maybe you ride or maybe you don't. But what it does is it costs money. It costs a lot of money.
So tie this in real quick, because you're talking about that. You're talking about the horse. So in terms of NFTs, in terms of the uniqueness, in terms of a city that has been destroyed in every economically whatever, and now we're rebuilding it. The cool thing is, how will NFTs, how will that technology and that frame of mind, how can regular citizens benefit from that?
Sure. It's super simple. So the unfortunate thing is that when you try to save people and you give them the golden ticket for the Charlie Chocolate Factory, they get gentrified. Only a few get the perk. So what you do is
what's gentrification mean for everybody?
It pushes out the pores.
Right.
It pushes out so for me, I have $250,000 in student loan debt. I've been paying $1,100 almost every month for 10 years, and that pays the interest, not the principal. And that has saddled me my entire life. And just like improper health insurance saddles people, education saddles people, it puts a glass ceiling that no one can get out. So when you're gentrifying someone, you're pushing out the pores, and all they want is something to succeed. And they want some kind of lifeline that they can be inspired to do more. So if you take NFTs as a wrapped whole, as a social identity that can hold a social identity, that can interact in a social identity, at the minting of Flintopia, everyone that exists there, grandfather, mother, father, baby, gets an NFT. And if they exist in that ecosystem, they share the wealth of the yield of that city. And since that city is built on the fabric of interoperability, using DAOs to track packages, to do all sorts of awesome things, everybody gets paid. It's really the social consensus of what socialism, or real capitalism, not capitalism for the rich, not crony capitalism, should be. Because the children of those minted NFTs will be highly educated, will go to the best colleges, will be those people that don't have that glass ceiling. We punch through the ceiling that has been done from our robber barons. And the interesting thing is, let's say you are now a very wealthy member of Flintopia.
Because you have an NFT, a Flintopia NFT, right?
Yep. And you move out. You are now wealthy. You want to sell your property and your lifestyle that you have there to go do something else. You no longer get the minted NFTs from that area. You have sold it out. We are obviously, with a Flintopia, we would understand interoperability. We know where you exist. Granted, it's the same thing of like CCTVs in Europe or in England. So it's a little tricky on how to model it out. However, we're still looking at like what the future of Wi-Fi was when we're dealing with AOL CD disks. And that future is built on identities that have interoperability. And something like Flintopia could be an example of a city. And then, like we were talking about before, multiple cities could be melded into this to create a democratic competition.
Yeah, I kind of think about it this way. This is kind of abstract, but think about the validators that are going to be in the Pulse chain. And think how about you're gonna send your vote to a validator. In exchange, you're gonna receive some type of something from that validator, some type of reward. Now, each validator is gonna have a different reward system. So in my mind, the validators are the cities, and then the users are actually the citizens. Right. And if we have multiple cities, if we have hundreds or thousands of cities participating in this, depending on the perks here or there, there's a very strong, healthy competition, but it's backed by decentralization and not human decisions, smart contracts. That's what's beautiful about it.
And you actually get those votes actually really there, right? So like if you actually think about your bag has a vote, right? And your tokens have a vote. Think about PulseChain with the LP token, right? And soon enough, we all as early hexagon adopters and early adopters of the future of the internet will be able to have our vote mean more than old money. It's the cry, the death throw of the dinosaur, and it's going to be nasty. But they're already causing it themselves with the way they're debasing the dollar. I mean, look at any of Wales' streams when he talks about the length of the fiat system. DS is doing this macro thing with Jay. Crypto junkies love the fuck out of that guy. And then Wales. And they're looking at these macros. And if we look at the macro of where we are, we're on the age of an epoch. And we are sitting on the most wild time to be alive. Because our children's children will benefit from the generational wealth of our wallets. But what we can do as philanthropists and good fucking humans is actually build that for everyone. It is the one for all mindset that we've lost forever ago. Right? It was the reason that the Rome got undone is the Senate lost the power and all the shit went crazy and they expanded too far. Now we have the infrastructure during that suck back up to rebuild and do it through green energy, green biotech, health for all, and education for all, information for all. That's really, again, what the iPhone with Jobs' law did is he gave everyone information in the palm of your hand. And that changed the tangibilness of all of it.
All of human information in the palm of your hand.
It's
calculation and mathematics and everything.
We'll Star Trek. Just one website. I can't do math.
Man. Star Trek called it.
Yep. There is one thing that I do kind of disagree with that, because every single time you hear about one of these big tech or big clothing lines branching into the NFT game, they kill it. Because everybody's trying to get their product first. So are they just going to
destroy it, kill it?
Well, no, they do well. Like they sell out. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the idea I have around T-share partners. And T-share partners are like groups of hexagons that are doing very, very interesting things. And then we base our liquidity on T-shares, which help pushes our value, which help pushes our everything on top of that. So there's many ways that you can beat the system when you have the only asset that produces yield. Again, HEX is the best money printer of what it is. Realize what it is. You don't go ride a horse to fly a plane. They're different utilities, right? So if you wrap your assets in T-shares, which produce yield, you can do other things. So Hex Clips did a thing about it the other day. When I try to explain Hex really simply, complexly, if I need to exist in this world, I have to rent a house. I have to live, right? And so I have to pay rent to exist in this world. Now, what I could do is I could buy a house. Buying a house gives me equity. It does not solve a situation. I can rent or I can buy. That gives me equity. Now, if I want to earn interest, not yield, interest, I buy a house, right? But I still have to buy a house and live, right? So I either rent a house and buy a house and earn interest, but then pay the rent to buy the house, right? So these are the two problems. Now, Hex is a house that prints houses, and that A and B ecosystem lives within that lockstep. So you can choose what you do with your utility. Do you want the house that prints houses, and then what you take with that yield, you can invest into other opportunities. That's good. That's the true verm of decorrelating or diversifying your assets. However, first get your house that prints houses. Set yourself up for success, and then build technology with Hexagon inside. Because again, none of us get paid to do any of this shit. We come on because we care. And the bigger thing is, the more Hexagon inside things moving forward, we will change the parabola because it's inconsequential. It doesn't matter. We have all the yield.
I think I read the book The Richest Man in Babylon.
I need to read that.
You have or have not?
I have not. I've heard about it.
That's a book that you need to read it because it just sounds so much like what you just said. You're already on it. You're a smart dude. Real quick here, Far Out Aliens. Thank you so much, man. At the bottom of my heart, 5555.
Dude's fucking family, man. Far Out Aliens is the best.
Awesome. I feel like the next Elon or Jeff Bezos will come out of this community.
100%.
Oh man, that's strong. Why not? Well, we got some smart folks here, man. We got some smart folks.
It's not even just the next Elon or Gates. They look at that from their wealth, right? The next Teslas will be here, right? You know, Nicholas Tesla got undermined by money and he got flushed down. There were cars that ran on water in the 60s that got absorbed by GM. What happens if you have enough yield that you can't be bought?
Right.
That's the reason why Richard has the magic carpet ride. He can't be bought.
Did you hear my NFT?
What's that?
Did you get one of my NFTs?
I have not.
It was a Richard Hart magic carpet ride.
Oh, that's dope. Yeah, no, because I compose shots for games and movies for a day job. I try to avoid art because I deal with art for 80 hours a week.
Well, guys, I'm really big on delivering content quickly and having it be very dense. And I think that you guys, man, I'm just blown away. I've learned so much on this stream between the both of you. Just I'm very, very, very grateful. So we're gonna wrap it up here. I want to start with you, SteakinApes. What are some pieces of advice based on your experience of getting into these spaces and talking to people? What can regular people do to connect with some of the newer folks that are going to be on this chain pretty soon?
All right, so this is the biggest thing, and I heard it last night from this guy who's doing really well in the NFT community. He said, treat everybody like they're your best friend. All right. Pretty much don't if they have that's how I'm trying to approach all these people who have like different ideals and stuff. Instead of bashing what they're doing, I'm going to listen to what they're doing, and then I'm going to throw mine in there, but I'm not going to beat it down their throat where I have the best product, because in their eyes, they might think they have the best product. I know they don't, but I'm just not going to be that person constantly, telling them, talking down to them or something like that. I'm just going to tell them, put out the information, and it's whether they pick it up or not, but I feel like if we just at least explain it to them and stuff. And I like what Hedron's doing with these encapsulated stakes, because it scares people about locking up their money for 15 years. I mean, shit, it scared me too before I did my 555. So I think Hedron's going to be good, and it's going to bring that trading aspect, that volume that Hex is going to need to put it over, from more people being able to get into it. And then they're going to see how the price goes up so fast, and then they're just going to be holding on to it.
Yep. Outstanding. Love it. What about you, man? What type of insight or vision or what can you share with folks to help move this ship in the right direction?
I think knowledge is the most expensive and elusive token in the world. Richard Bach says, argue your limitations, and sure enough, you have them. I think if we look at where we are in time, if you're not watching the free information on YouTube that all of us come on here to do, not only do you whip into base all of us that have way too much student loans, but you're doing yourself a disservice. Like things like TikTok are a mental model that people want to be entertained really quickly, but entertaining yourself longly, immediately, and then have the freedom to do what you want forever. It's wild that all of us put out all this content and have all this free knowledge. And I said it long before Legion came out, but we are Legion, right? We are one. We are the Spartans that are coming forward to bring value to the ecosystem for free, because we already have our yield, right? Even if you're a new Hexagon and you have one T-share, you're sitting fucking pretty, because you're going to have two after the fork. But more importantly, you learned what is going on, and you have your heart on the pulse of what's going on in the future. And if you have that, you're golden, and your family's golden, and your friends are golden. And by existing in this ecosystem, instead of wasting your time with silly things, then you have that lion's share of momentum to move forward with all of us. And I think that's the biggest way to make an arc to save the world, to save humanity, and to save us from ourselves, because greed is apparent in anything when you get complacent. But if you're hungry and you want to build and you want to help, you're never greedy.
I love it, man. Now part of what we got to do here is cater to some of the brand new folks too. So I'll let you go ahead and answer this. Dario Lopez asks, what is 5555?
Sure. So within the code, when they wrote out Hex, remember Hex completed contract, all the rest of that, they didn't have the ability to stake it longer without the gas and computation strength costing more than what you would get in the yield parabola. So it's the longest length that you can stake your yield, right? And as you do that, you have longer pays better, which means that you get a bonus every year that you stake. And so a 5555 stake is the longest commitment, right? Commitment is the most important part. When you say that you do something, you do it. And that yield gets you the variable of the maximum amount of bonuses. And what SteakinApes is talking about with Hedron and having that ability, it gives it the middleware opportunity. I was talking about Hedron almost like an Uber driver or a chauffeur. He's the middleware that allows you to stake. You still hold your keys, you still all the rest of that. This is just a middleware that gives you opportunity to do stuff. But when you make that commitment, and you get paid that yield based on the time with the bonuses that incur.
Outstanding. And some of the basic staking rules, you have to stake for a minimum of 1 day. So if you purchase Hex and you want to stake it, it's a minimum of 1 day, and you can only stake up to 5,555 days. So that's right. The max, about 15 years. Once you submit your stake, the coins are burned. Okay. You can no longer access these coins until your stake is complete, or you emergency end your stake. And in return, you're going to receive shares in the share pool. And you can't add to your stake once it's submitted. Emergency ending your stake will subject you to penalties for not fulfilling your stake. So one of the big things that has been conditioned to a bunch of hexagons is the learned ability to hold.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to commit to a stake length, then you need to do it, or you will be penalized for it. So I think that's one of the most powerful parts of why we stake. It's to save ourselves from ourselves.
Yep. So I like to
Yes.
correlate this to like making a deal with the mafia, right?
Yeah.
You show up on the day that you make the deal. You don't show up a day early because you're going to inconvenience the mafia. That's probably a bad idea. You don't show up a day late because now you're late. That's a very bad idea. You do exactly what you say you're going to do, or pay the repercussions of what you say you're going to do.
Absolutely. Now, were you going to say something?
Yeah. So, but everybody's not going to be a hexagon. Not everybody's going to buy into the system. And that's why I think Hedron will help the people who's not going to buy in. But once they start to be able to ease in and see the actual performance of Hex, that will get them to buy in, instead of just a bunch of hexagons beating it down their throat. You know, we got the best, you must do this, you know, stake your money for 15 years. Now we have that middle ground
Correct.
that can bring more people over to the community, because just yelling at people doesn't always work, you know.
I have tried for over a year and almost 2 years now to scream from the rooftops.
That's why you still got people holding XRP and Bitcoin and like all these other coins.
I know it. So what encapsulated stakes, no matter how way you want to phrase it, right? There's many ways to handle that mechanism, whether it's what Sam Firebun are doing over at Staker, that's what Hedron is doing. It gives people options, right? Just because life has problems. Every problem has a reward in its completion, Richard Bach. But life has problems. Sometimes you need to do something. Mom gets sick, brother got in a car accident. You have a way to take a piece of that off the pie and to do something with it. And then if you wanted, you could even rebuy that piece back later and plug it back in, right? You know what I mean? It's adding and redacting of pies. So it's very, very interesting. It's the same way that, again, fax machines only had one throughput, one in, one out. That's essentially a stake. Now everyone's on a damn cell phone with Wi-Fi. Everyone has interoperability. The future of this interoperability and yield is really kind of exciting. And if you think about it, it's kind of the same version of what hex scale would be in the future, because that allows institutional investors to buy in an asset, just like Grayscale buys in Bitcoin. Now, if you think about all of that, very, very interesting, but very, very similar when you correlate the scales and how they work in between each other, especially with NFTs being the identity that you're wrapping this pie, and you can piece off NFTs as the piece of the pie, which is essentially what Hedron is doing.
And folks in the chat, the reason that we're having this conversation, the whole premise behind this chat tonight, was to open people's eyes about the broad and the depth of the broadness and the depthness of what NFTs are and what the technology is going to do for the world in the future. It's very important. And you're not going to go into any space, you're not going to go on most YouTube channels and hear anything that's going to touch this type of content. And that's not a plug on me. It's just a plug on the community that we have. Really smart folks in here. So we just got to make sure that when we hear that word, you got to understand there's a whole universe behind that. I'm really impressed with you, SteakinApes, because you are doing God's work right now. You're doing everything you can to reach out to people. I think you took what Richard Hart said in terms of the coupon idea, which is, hey, send a bunch of free money out to people and see what happens to your business. Your business grows. There is such thing as free stuff. And when you send these NFTs out, and then when you start sending these free NFTs out on the PulseChain to people, you're going to onboard folks, and it's no skin off your back, and you're tapping into that vein. So I think that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to show so many people how to set up a custom RPC on their MetaMask. I'm gonna just have to make that video by the time PulseChain launches, because that's gonna be the #1 question they're gonna ask is,
If you need help,
are,
man, we'll do it. I'll do it with you. You can do it on your own. You just let me
because
know. I'm here for you, buddy.
the
Think about
address
like
is
their
the
driving
same.
school though, right? Yeah, you gotta pass the driving test to get a car, right? And then at the end of the day, making money, a lot of money, it shouldn't be the easiest thing in the world, but you should have your education for it, right? So changing 3 settings in MetaMask should be like learning how to like put your seatbelt on, turn a key, and put it into drive.
Love it. Now, here's just a little idea for you, SteakinApes. Maybe after this, you can create a Twitter space, and we can kind of talk about this, and people can start shooting you their addresses, and you can kind of
Yeah.
go over that. And I'm going to share my screen here. I know nothing about NFTs, and both of these guys just educated me in a big way and really helped the people listening tonight. I would encourage anybody who knows somebody has questions about NFTs to maybe share this video with them, guys, because there's so much good knowledge on here. All right,
This
so
isn't
here is. Oh, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah, this isn't not me saying go buy NFTs, go ride the train, do anything like that. I do not shill that whatsoever. I treat them as gift cards, just passing them out to people, doing promos. I got like people with like music artists always DMing me. It's essentially, this is the newspaper of the future. You know how people still collect and sell newspapers, because they're rare and stuff like that. This is essentially what an NFT is. It's the newspaper of the future, and you're just passing them out to people. You put your description on there, you link your website, you link your social medias, and then this is what you do to give out.
Absolutely. I love it. And just to recap for folks, all you need to do is find SteakinApes on Twitter. We can get into a Twitter space for just a little bit if you guys want to join after this. Send him your MetaMask address, and he's going to teach you what to do from there. But essentially, you'll get a free little airdrop that he's done for this stream. Very thankful for that, man. And I want to also say this, and I'm going to say this every stream. I've gotten no financial benefit or no benefit whatsoever from any of these guys other than the fact that I learned a tremendous amount, and I really appreciate you guys for that.
Knowledge is the most expensive token in the world, my friend, and that's
You
why we
were
give it freely
not
here.
wrong about that, man. If you guys don't have any other questions or statements, again, guys, thank you so much. Tomorrow, I will be interviewing Alex from Hedron or Hedron. How do you say it?
Yeah, I believe it's Hedron.
Hedron. So I'll be interviewing him. If there's anybody in the chat that has specific questions that you would like me to field to him, just hit me up on Twitter. And,
also, I was on Cabana stream with him. He's a very, very, very smart guy. I've been talking about NFTs as interoperability for almost 8 months, and it's the first time I've seen anyone do anything with it with a hex in mind. He's a smart guy. I really like him a lot.
Outstanding. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you guys so much, and we will be talking to you soon. And don't forget, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, I'll be with Hedron. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.